Welcome to the bold analysis, and I want us to pursue some interesting angle here. What are the numbers that can influence a judgment in Supreme Court, or that can determine the judgment, the final verdict in Supreme Court? Let me just say one in light notice. One of the numbers that Kenyans have been paying attention to is the number of judges. That judges are 7. So if it's go by a divided or unanimous, there are two ways. They can have one unanimous decision, or divided, then it's one on majority rule. It's either way that they have a unanimous decision, which I think is the way to go, so that if you go on a divided Supreme Court, then when they were handling the case, they were also handling a case of a divided IBC that worked on majority. They will actually be, they can be criticized that if they go on a divided rule so that majority carries the day, then what does that mean? It will point out to an infiltration or influence from external sources, where some 2 or 3 people were actually put there. For example, it's 4 judges uphold and 3 judges nullify. Then the criticism will then be profiling judges. Those who might have upheld will be seen as those who had political inclinations towards another side. Those who may be nullify will also be seen as pro-Azimio. And that is going to dent the credibility of that Supreme Court verdict. And I can tell you that you can put a test to this, that the general public, because this case has some public interest, the general public will have a feeling that they are also infiltrated. Even though, what I understand is, even anonymous, to say they have one stand, they also seem like it can't be true that all the judges are saying the same thing. So it's a very delicate balance for them. But in this analysis, I want us to look at some numbers that were really seen, that came out from those proceedings. We've mentioned about the issues and the questions that have been raised. I will also want to look at those questions first. Maybe the theories that emerge amongst the questions. Then we look at the real numbers. But before that, kindly subscribe to our channel. I continue to remind us about Sarah Atieno's fundraiser. Just a day to the end of it. Asanteni sana to those who've been supporting. We are only short out of the 215 that we needed within the 15 days extension. We were in a position to collect around 36,000, and we continue to reach out to us in special way that let's help push this to the end. We are going to discharge Sarah on Tuesday, so I believe between today, Sunday, and Monday, and probably morning on Tuesday, we'll be in a position to hit the target and run to Kenyatta Hospital and discharge Sarah. She's one of our subscribers. She suffered acute leukemia and was detained in Kenyatta Hospital for now nearly 6 months. And we believe that finally freedom is here. Or I want to say freedom is coming. It's going to her, but freedom is here. So Team Bold, let's pull this together. The number is up there, 0710 62 78 89. And I continue to pray that may God help us through. I want to just look at a snippet of Ruto's defense in the court. Uhuru has a hand in Raila-Ruto petition. That's what William Ruto told the court. I don't know to what effect. Raila has come to court in clean hands, has not come to court in clean hands. And this was referring to what happened in Bomas of Kenya, where they believed that there was a coup by the 4 commissioners and the violence there was orchestrated by Raila. State machineries officers were interfering with the election in favor of Raila. The SCI is weaponized. I won the election. Raila's chief agent initiated a near coup at Bomas. Now, This is what Raila and Karua press were and nullify, compel IBC to tally, verify the count, and declare Raila and Karua as president and deputy president-elect. Find that IBC is incapable of carrying out a credible presidential election. Declare all votes, and I want you to look at this, declare all votes affected by illegalities are invalid, retally genuine results, and verified and considered as valid outcome of the presidential election. So I want to tell you something. People have prayed for a rerun, and there are those who have claimed to have high intelligence that the country is going to, that the Supreme Court is going to uphold William Ruto's win. I will not discredit both sides of the argument, because all the cards are on table. But I want you to just, as you figure out, as you think around this, look at what could be the way to rerun. The only direct way to rerun is this, that it would be a little bit impossible, because Supreme Court mentioned that there is a constitutional directive on removing chairman of the commission. And if they are to call for a rerun, but at the same time say that the commission is incapacitated, that it cannot. Actually, one of the determinations is whether the IBC is fully constituted to conduct another election. If there is go for a rerun, the rerun will be on ground that anomalies that were pointed out by Azimio lawyers are actually valid, and so someone is responsible for the irresponsibility. Yeah, someone is responsible for the irresponsibility. That is the ground of first now calling for that rerun. But this is what I see. Before I explain that, I think to help you get the bearing, look at these numbers. 5,822 out of the 44,948 polling stations were e-forensics fraudulent. Okay. Out of 5,000 polling stations, the e-forensics on the transmission error, the error number there is around 5,000 are affected. What does that mean? Just multiply that with, if you multiply this number, that each polling station had, let's talk of maybe 300. Just multiply by 300. That's not a joke. That is quite a number. 5,000 polling stations with a minimum turnout of, let's talk of 300 for the presidential vote, because the polling station has 700. If you make that calculation, you can get your figures. What this points out to. Number two, 11,000 forms of that Form 34A were dumped into the public portal in a span of 8 minutes. This is part of suspicious transactions, and these are the numbers, and these are the numbers I'm insisting on, because these numbers will determine the decision that the judges are going to make. What do you make of it? That within 8 minutes, 11,000 Form 34A. It's a possibility, but is it from the same place? The other number that you have to look at is this. There was a delay between 30 minutes to 5 hours before Forms 34A were transmitted. Okay? So this delay is in between the Kim's kit to the between the Kim's kit to the portal. There is the other number. 7,500 polling stations did not transmit results real time as expected. This can be seen as a way to look at it in terms of it can have the excuses of data problems, the internet, the network issues. But 7,500 polling stations, these numbers point out a possibility of fraudulent deals in there. There is another number that I want us to look at. The other number is, I think I got it from IBC. I need to get it. IBC's number is saying only 200 KIMS kits of the 4,629 failed. Is that right? While in Makueni, only, Makueni County, I think in Kitui, nearly all those areas, there was a failure of the KIMS kit. These numbers are ones that are going to determine the fate of this number. IBC did not tally 50% plus 1 based on the total registered voters. That is what IBC is saying. That the 50 plus 1, they did not tally based on the registered voters. Now, guys, let me explain the way to a rerun. What Supreme Court can do to take the Kenyan voter to a rerun is to call for a recount of valid votes. So what IBC can do, they can actually do is they sit down and calculate and say that of all the invalid votes, of all the areas, the votes that are affected are probably above the 200,000, that is the gap between Raila and Ruto, and that will be a ground to call for the rerun. And on that ground, because the places that mostly affected that are contested are the bases of William Ruto, there are few instances where William Ruto's lawyers were complaining of a rigging scheme where Ruto's votes were suppressed in Raila Odinga's strongholds. So the only probability here is you go for the valid votes, and when you count the valid votes and you realize that the gap, it's reducing the number that you had initially, then you call for the rerun. And so this might not be called by the Supreme Court. The IBC can do the work and take Kenyans for a rerun. And on that ground, that they are not vindicated in the election mess. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my last video of the day. Let's meet after the Supreme Court verdict. That is Monday 5th in the afternoon. And let's continue supporting Sarah. Let's donate the little we have so that we can bring this to completion. Thank you. And of course, this is the last video I'm going to do home. Tukifanya hiyo next, nitakuwa nafanya nikiwa kwa nyumba, back in the Bold studio in Nairobi. Yeah, I just wanted to say something that, guys, for those of us who are out, we are looking for means of survival. Let's support. If you can support, let's just support people back home. Yeah, people back home, there is just a lot of need. There is just a lot of demand. Watu sahi wanalima, they need fertilizer, they need manure. There is just a lot of support that is needed. So because we grew up in these villages, we created our names from these villages. Always let's come back and support back home. And thank you for your support.